tomorrow, every day this week, and we will continue that through the festival. And additionally, we're going to add some broadcasts called Fest News, which are delightful. There's a little bit of comedy involved, and those will happen at 12 and 5 p.m. on every day of the festival as well. So I hope that you will tune in by liking us on the Facebook page and subscribing to the YouTube channel for the festival. Today, I have the great pleasure of welcoming to the Live at One studio two of my favorite people in the entire world, Charles and Jo Dumas. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Hi, welcome. Thank
you.
It's wonderful being here. Thank you for having us on.
It is truly a pleasure. So, why I could go on about why you're two of my favorite people. Well, why don't you give us a brief introduction of both of yourselves? Or Jo, you could introduce Charles, or vice versa. Have a little fun with it.
Yeah, we know a bit about each other. I'm at the moment a professor at Penn State and teach in the Film, Video, and Media Studies program. And I am a former filmmaker and came from New York City out to Penn State, and have been doing theater with my beloved husband, playwright, director, actor, Charles Dumas, and our Loaves and Fish Theater company, which is producing God's Trombones this festival, is will be 36 years old in about a week or two.
You don't look a day over 35, that company. And Charles, what about you?
I'm a professor emeritus, retired from Penn State Theater Department, a working actor, director, writer. Been doing this stuff for quite a few years, over 50, and just happy to have the opportunity to be doing stuff and having an audience and getting back to what we do well, which is theater and film and performing for the people.
Absolutely. And you're a poet as well, Charles. I know some folks who live in the central Pennsylvania region enjoy your, I guess it's weekly, articles in the CDT. And yeah. And Jo, I know you just won some accolades for your teaching prowess. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about let's start with the company, Loaves and Fishes. What was the incarnation of that 36 some years ago?
It was interesting. We were doing a play. We were working with a guy named Doug Farron, who was a very good director, and we were looking around trying to do original works, particularly, or works that were unusual. Loaves and Fish, because it has a biblical beginning. People think of it, we're a religious theater group. We weren't. Loaves and Fish just had to do with the fact that in the story, Jesus fed people with 5 loaves and 2 fish, so that we think that theater is like that. You start off with what you got, which is not very much, and you spread it around so that everybody can enjoy it. And so we've done quite a few things. We've had a couple of shows that weren't Broadway, but were off Broadway in New York. We've done stuff in various festivals in South Africa, in Edinburgh, in London. And we brought it out here. It followed us. Doug was artistic director for a long time. We came out here, sort of took over the artistic reins of it, and we've produced several things. Interestingly enough, this play we're doing, God's Trombones, is the first play that Loaves and Fish did out here in State College back in 1995. And we decided it's time to sort of do it again. For a long time, we took the play, and we often worked with Tony Leach of Essence of Joy. And so we would have music and the sermons. The original play starred 3 of the people who are in it now. Michael Key was also in it, and some other folks were in it. And so this is kind of like, Keegan's not going to be in this one, sadly enough. But so it's a play about taken by James Weldon Johnson, based on sermons by Black preachers back in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to watch one of the performers do their piece, and it's powerful. And it is one of the featured performances in the festival this weekend coming up. From 7 p.m. Friday to 7 p.m. Sunday, folks will be able to either purchase a ticket for Just God's Trombone, or why not purchase a pass for the entire festival, and then you can stream those shows, all 13 of those shows, as many times as you'd like. It could be 3 in the morning and you can watch it, right? Yeah. I know. For those of us who have those, those short bouts with insomnia, we can watch theater, right? It'll be great. It's everything we need and more. Jo, what's your experience been like? It is not the actor and theater company's first choice to do things virtually, obviously, but bringing pieces like this to this medium, right? To Zoom and different things. What's your experience been like doing that with this piece?
Well, it's interesting. Of course, the first part of it that is the downside is not being physically present with people. How we are simulating a physical presence among one another and communication among one another in Zoom. I, of course, did it along with all our other professors over the last 2 semesters during this COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we all along the way have been engaging in online work for productions. Charles did a production at the theater department that was all online, and he'll talk a little bit about that. But also working as a working actor. I've been tech support since Loaves and Fish was conceived. I rarely am an actor or a writer in the process. I am usually the one who does tech, sound, and such. And of course, Zoom meetings come into that category. And so whenever Charles received an audition, I was the support tech person for getting that audition together. And luckily, it's produced some wonderful work that, again, Charles can talk about.
Yeah. And I do hope you mentioned the Osaze project, because that was such a powerful piece, Charles. And, what you were able to do with that is bring actors from all over the country, in essence.
All over the country,
Yeah. And I'm curious, has a little remnant of what you've experienced over COVID, like, you're absolutely right that person-to-person interaction is so key to theater. But would you consider keeping a part of this new world where we can, bring in voices from different parts of the country?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that happened after the Osaze piece, which thank you for participating in that, Elaine, and like you say, people from all over the country. Right after that, I was a former student who is now a director and a professor, called me up and was working on an international project, which had 11 countries represented, including like Russia and China and Indonesia, and I mean, it was just 11 different countries doing Romeo and Juliet, and doing it on Zoom, and doing it where people were 12 hours difference in the time frame, like Russia and China and stuff, and we were all doing this play. It was in English, and we were all doing this play for about an hour and a half, and it was amazing. And so, yes, one of the things that COVID did for us and the pandemic did for us is it forced us onto Zoom. But then what happens with Zoom is that it opens up the world, because you can have auditions and you can have plays and you can participate, in a way that is not possible when you're doing it in-house. So yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, as you know, we did with Osaze was that we use we didn't look at the Zoom as a restriction as much as we used as a method, so that Zoom itself became part of telling the story.
Yeah.
And that's a new thing. As more matter of fact, one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of film and television in particular is that how much the actors and the director call upon using cell phones to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that you had to figure out how people got together in the story, in the context of the story. And now you don't. Now you pick up a phone and call somebody. or somebody calls you, or it becomes an integral part of the storytelling. And I think that Zoom is going to have that same kind of effect. It's going to become an integral part of the story.
Yeah, that's a fascinating observation. I was thinking about the fact that in many instances, particularly maybe like a mystery setting where there's a sort of, you have to figure something out, you have to almost set it as a period piece, because as soon as you have GPS and location services, or phones in our pockets, it changes the dynamics of the entire story. Absolutely. And you have to answer that, like, why wouldn't they just call them on their cell phone, right?
Yeah.
We saw a Shakespeare Hamlet last night, Harrisburg Shakespeare Hamlet, and it was modern dress, modern day, and there were cell phones.
Right. And again, I think that there's a place for that, and it's going to be interesting to see as we see the, that observation of Zoom becoming a part of the method. Right. That'll be interesting to see. Yeah. So you are part of the festival this year. You've been part of the festival since its inception. I guess this is our 4th year. So we do hope that we continue to work with you. What's next on your plates? I mean, you're two busy folks, so.
Oh yeah. Well, as you point out, I have this weekly column, which we're coming up on the year anniversary of, which I think is great. Me personally, I just was working down in Atlanta with Tyler Perry on a couple of his new projects, a film that should be coming out at the end of next year, and a TV series that'll be coming out on, I think it's BET. It's either BET or HBO. Literally in a couple of weeks, beginning of the summer in June and July. And we're working on, the main thing that both of us are working on together is that I have a play about my uncle, a guy named Willie Dixon, who was a blues composer and singer with Chess Records back in the 50s and 60s. And so we're mounting that. Want to try to get some kind of relationship with my friends at Penn State, and we're trying to work with the blues, Willie Dixon's Blues Heavens Foundation in Chicago. So we're going to try to get it at the Blues Festival. So we're working on that. And primarily, Jo and I are writing a book together.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, well, the book, it's hard to talk about the book while we're in writing because it fluctuates. We write quite a bit. And we just reorganized the whole telling of it. We've written about 3/4 of it, but we're reorganizing what we're telling, why we're telling, what do we have to say. Part of it is this era of course, the social justice pandemic, if you will, that we're in, as well as the COVID pandemic. We're rethinking, what do we have to say? How are we going to say it? And so our book is very much a part of that. One of our most current projects, which is happening in the next 40 hours, is decorating our car for the Pride Parade.
Yay! That's awesome. I know, it's very exciting that we have State College Pride this year. There was a virtual happening last year as well, but that's fantastic. Good. And well, I know I've spoken to you a little bit about the book, and I can understand the daunting challenge that is, because you've had such a depth and length of time involved in both your relationships with others, with the civil rights movement, and where do you cut and paste, and what do you leave in and what do you leave out? So I know that you're going to come up with the perfect solution, but it's no small task. So
the problem is that every time we take a break for school or productions or whatever, and we start up again, we have new ideas that have sort of suddenly blossomed, and we wind up changing. The last change we made is that we changed the entire beginning. We were going to go from 1960 to 1980 as the first part, and so now we're sort of going from 1970 until 1995, or not, 95 as the framework of it. So it changes the entire process, but we're working at it.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll stay alive long enough to finish it.
You will, and it's. I think there's power in the process too, as you know, coming from the theater world. So kudos for that. I I was in the audience for the premiere of the Willie Dixon story.
Mhm.
I have forgotten the actual title. What did you call that?
Called the Willie Dixon story, but now
Okay,
it's got a different title. Now it's called Blues of the Root, which is
there we
what
go.
it-
There we go.
Blues of the Root.
Blues
Yeah,
of the
it
Root.
had that title too.
Yeah, and I found it so fascinating the way you combined live music with the storytelling, and I'm glad that has not, that you're still working on bringing that back to life. I imagine you as like this youngster, like, here's this relative of yours, and you have no idea the impact, right? As a child, you couldn't possibly know the impact he had on the blues world.
Oh, can I say one thing to just to
Yeah.
bring up to speed those young folks who may not know what we're talking about? One of his primary people that he influenced was a guy named Mick Jagger. As a matter of fact, on the Rolling Stones' first album, Uncle Willie's song is on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Mick Jagger, but
Yeah. So somewhere in the back of my mind. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Well, you are such a resource for our community. Charles and Jo, you both have this innate sense of wanting to help young people, and it shows, like either as leaders in social justice movements, or with your work in the theater or your teaching. I mean, I don't think you can do anything, either of you, without having some sort of teaching component, right? Yeah.
I agree, and I think that we've sort of evolved from sort of a leadership position, that very short period, to sort of being a witness and being there for consultation when necessary. I mean, the movement it should be and is being led by young people. God bless them, and we're there in case anybody wants to ask some questions about the way it used to be, or maybe to take advantage of the long view that we bring to it. So that, and I think that's what you do. I mean, that's why the ancestors and God put us here at this point. We're both past 70, and we're both here as resources, because we were resourced. We didn't spring out of Zeus's head. We were resourced by the elders that were around when we were young.
Yeah, and as elders, we have a lot of stories, but one of our goals in the book is that our stories are not individual stories. Our stories are very much in the spirit of Ubuntu, which is, I am because we all are. We are because of the communities in which we've lived and functioned and worked and struggled for justice, for life, for love, for all that we've struggled in this life. And that's our goal, and our challenge in the book is to link the experiences and the many stories that we've had to the justice struggle that we've lived in the world around us.
Yeah, beautiful. And again, that sort of open heart to, amplify the voices around you, but also be there as a resource. That's gorgeous. That's very, very lovely.
And to do theater. I'm going to tell you something. We were thinking about you last night, man, because we went out to the Harrisburg Shakespeare to see their production of Hamlet, Free Shakespeare in the Park. And I was thinking, brought back memories of Susan, and brought back memories of Shakespeare at the Palmer, which was a free Shakespeare company we started with 20-something years ago. And that the whole notion that maybe this time off we've had during the pandemic allows us to recharge some of those batteries, and maybe we ought to think about going back and getting some folks together to do some free Shakespeare.
I think I like that idea, and I think we know someone else who would be love that idea as well. We're talking about doing something, and our friend Susan, who's no longer with us on the plane of Earth, her whole idea was that Shakespeare is for everybody. It is not exclusive. It is not erudite. It is not pompous. It is of the people. And so she was really, an advocate for making it by the people. And I love that idea. I think that so many people would gather around that concept. Yeah. Let's do it. We're saying it here. Let's do it. We're doing it.
I mean, it's interesting that we have this, dance and theater festival, and is there any Shakespeare involved?
Yes, there is. In fact, we're going to be doing and that's one of the free events, and we are sort of dedicating that to the memory of Susan. We're roping you in, don't you worry.
I'm not worried. I'm just saying, as long as all, great minds or even just ordinary minds sort of think together, and that's what makes it great.
Well, and that's the beauty of this community, and we can all also be better at spreading the word. And I think it's hard with the transitory nature of our community to make sure people know that are only here for maybe 4 or 6 or 8 years while they're at the university, that we want them to be part of the community, the community's theatrical and arts presence as well, because we certainly get to enjoy their presence, and the academic and university setting. So, any time we bring people together and talk, create, and, enjoy theater, I think it just makes every connection in our community stronger. So thank you both for being such a big part of that. Yay.
And now with the changes that are happening and the great changes that are happening in our country and in our community, we got a fellow thespian who may and probably will be, on the borough council.
Yep. Exactly.
Which will help bring a certain level of awareness and in terms of the arts, particularly theatrical arts, to the body politic, which is absolutely essential.
Yeah, and really making that connection that the arts don't happen in a vacuum, and they don't happen without funding. We know firsthand. It's people, especially actors. I think we get told, "Oh, well, you'll do this for free because you love to do it," and it's that's sustainable for a moment, right? And it's as a movement and as a contribution to our society. It's so important to stand up and recognize that artists are doing their job. It's something they love, and that's a blessing that we actually love what we do for work, but it also is a job and it is work. And on that note, I'll remind folks that if they buy a pass for the entire festival, they're helping to support the festival itself and also the artists. And again, Broadway on Demand. I'm going to have Paul bring up the graphic here. Yeah, Broadway on Demand through the centralpatheater.org website will get you, there we go, where you would purchase the tickets not only for God's Trombone, but for all 13 of the shows. If you just purchase a pass, you will be asked to set up your own login and password for Broadway on Demand. There's God's Trombone.
Yay!
There we go. So, well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to the two of you. I have had the honor of seeing you through the pandemic, even at a distance. So I look forward to seeing you and maybe doing some theater together real soon. So thank you for joining us today, live at 1. We'll be back tomorrow, live at 1, folks, and we'll see you this weekend for the Central PA Theater and Dance Fest. Bye.
Yes, bye. Our pleasure.